Hi everybody, this is Sunshine Chat. This is a beautiful story about the last tree, a seed of hope. It's about a little girl named Olive, and she lives with her father. He's a single parent. Olive was always the last one to be collected from school because her father couldn't come and get her until after work. But it was always worth the wait when her father would give her a big hug. The journey home was very long. Olive watched as the world passed by them as they would be on a train ride. Olive was her father's world. She felt weightless on his shoulders. And then it shows different wonderful pictures. At night, the train brought them home, but books could keep them anywhere they imagined. Her father always said, "Imagine that." He would read to her every night. Tonight, Olive couldn't sleep, for tomorrow would be her first adventure going on a trip to a museum with her class. The Tree Museum was built many years ago by the last of the tree generation. In other words, there are no more trees. Olive said goodbye to her father at the museum steps before following her class in. Inside there was a big tree cut in half. For as long as Olive could remember, she had longed to meet a tree. But the last of the trees had died a long time ago. There was a painting in the museum that caught Olive's eye, and she found she couldn't look away from it. She whispered to the tree called the last tree. And the tree whispered back to her. The tree and Olive were talking. Olive was lost for words. They had their conversations in silence. She began to climb. It was a long way up. It was a long way down. Sometimes to reach the sky, you have to lose sight of the ground. Have you ever lost sight of the ground? Olive felt drawn into the sea of trees. She had never seen so many. Time passed by differently here, counted in seasons and not seconds. Deep in the forest, Olive went from one tree to the other, one season to the other. In time, she realized that she was not the only one there. There was a little deer and others. So this is how the trees sleep. She found a tree laying on the ground. The light of the day fell upon the tree. Olive looked up at the dark night sky, only to learn that it was filled with beautiful lights. Have you ever looked up in the darkness and found the lights? She just kept looking up. Clear skies may not stay that way. She jumped into the hollow of the tree for protection, and she felt the comfort in the dark. As the daylight came, she realized that some other shadows were emerging. She ran as fast as she could from those shadows. They seemed to scare her. There are some things you can't run away from. She stopped, and the deer stood next to her so that she did not feel alone. As time went on, she realized that she was imagining. It was time for her to leave. Her father was waiting outside for her. She burst through the door and jumped into his arms. He marveled at all she was saying, at his daughter's imagination about trees, until she showed him a seed in her hand, and the father knew she had found the true trees. She knew exactly what they needed to do. They planted the tree, and many trees would come. And so in the back of the book it says, imagine a world without trees, a world that is in many ways like our world, but where magnificent trees climbing and leaves rustling in the breeze are now only distant memories. Until a young girl comes along, a girl who is brave in spirit and willing to follow where her imagination takes her. Let your imagination take you to good places. Through Olive's adventures in the world of trees, we are reminded of nature's extraordinary power and beauty, and her accounts ultimately sow the seeds of new life in our own little world. she opened her hand and she realized she was the seed. She was the seed. And so the story of the last tree is really a story about the seed that's found in you and me. Hope does not retire. Hope does not disappoint. It can seem so small, like a little light, but if you stir the flame within, if you stir your faith, you will always have the beauty of a light of hope. Have a good day, everybody.